Father Mac expected something, but not so soon. He thought the PM too much of a coward to try and harm him until all other avenues had been exhausted. It was a miscalculation. He was right that the PM was a coward, but an impatient one. Nor was he a man of great imagination, so when Special Agent Clegg left the room in no doubt as to what was required, the PM was untroubled by moral qualms or disturbing images. It was simply a problem that was being solved, thankfully, by someone else. In fact, he was cuckooing at his youngest son, marvelling at the swathes of baby fat and aroma of warm bread that seemed to emanate from freshly swaddled infants, and feeling distinctly sentimental when the black BMW followed Father Mac along Canterbury High Street and was waiting for him as he emerged from the other side of the tower at Westgate. The PM's wife applied a little makeup beneath his eyes and the merest dusting of powder on his cheeks to create a bronzed matte glow before he left to address a gathering of Christian luminaries at the London Missionary Society, as the BMW left the ring road and took the new Dover Road away from Canterbury. He was just rising from his chair, wearing his "yes, I'm just an ordinary bloke" smile, which really meant I am the dog's bollocks. Just taking a sip of Evian before he started his speech and wondering what he was going to say — he hadn't had time to read it in the bulletproof Jag on the way there — when the BMW pulled into a dark field on the left, and Father Mac, now with a sack tied over his head, was led from the car by two men in dark suits. He knew it was pointless to resist. He had struggled, plotted, lied, and dissembled for so many long years to become a player in affairs of state and stop the Islamic apocalypse he felt sure was coming, and now that it was all about to go, and he was about to go with it, he suddenly felt calmer than he had in a long time. There is a moment when some people know this is it. The Reaper leans on the dark stile, paring his fingernails, and there is no pleading, no second chance, no point. Father Mac asked for the sack to be removed. Clegg nodded from the car. Father Mac blinked in the rainy moonlight. He was forced to his knees. A perfume of early corn, somewhere a late cow mooed, enchanting him back to his childhood, parsley and freshly cut hawthorn. Where would the sparrows nest now? Somewhere, the smell of the sea. He smiled. A dull crack that startled something moving beneath the hedge. A slump forward. The heart continued to beat until the last message finally reached it. The BMW silently cruised away, black as the night. His body was found by a farmer the next day. There were police cars, inquiries, commiserations to the Archbishop, phone calls between church and Westminster officers. A rumour started, where, how, who, and grew until it had the glittery sheen of a half-truth. A phone call from someone to another someone. A radical Muslim group claimed responsibility for Father Mac's execution, people started saying. It spread like bacteria from handshake to handshake. The PM denied any such claim had been made by any group. It was scandalous, he said. The media should wait before publishing and broadcasting such unfounded stories. But by then it had attained the murky status of half-truth. There's no rumour without fire, as he well knew. It was all bubbling along nicely. The Archbishop thought it most likely that a Muslim group had murdered Father Mac, given his inflammatory remarks about Islam. You tried to keep the lid on things, but it never worked. Words leaked like portholes in the Titanic, tit-holes in the Botanic, bot-holes in the attic. God, I'm tired, he thought, as the words rolled around in him like an oily, mocking fish. His housekeeper, the shrewish Mrs. Toot, entered with a cardboard box. "This is it, his stuff," she said. "Shall I charity shop it or just bin it?" There was no family. The Archbishop realised how little he knew about Father Mac. He knew a great deal about the troublesome priest, but next to nothing about the man. It suddenly seemed all so small and sad. "Leave his things," he said. Mrs. Toot shrugged and put the box on the desk. The Archbishop was about to relent and ask her to take it after all. Sentimentality would have to wait until this awful crisis was over, but the sight of Father Mac's battered old Bible made him stop. He took it out and perused the well-thumbed pages. He came to Revelation, and chapter 6, verse 5 was underscored in red biro. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. A memory tick-tocked uncertainly, then flashed up. The Prime Minister, smug, certain. The Archbishop turned the page. Chapter 13:11 was also underscored. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. The word dragon was more heavily underlined. He turned the page, and the page number 234 and the 15 of chapter 15 were encircled, and a line drawn from one to the other. Why? He puzzled over it. Surely it was just a coincidence. The PM quoting the same scripture that was underlined in Father Mac's Bible, and the other underlined verses. Why these? They shared the apocalyptic rhetoric that permeated Revelation. What was it D.H. Lawrence had said? That Revelation was where the devil had slipped into the Bible. That probably all meant nothing. He felt suddenly tired and put down the Bible. He reached across for the Daily Telegraph and the half-finished Sudoku. It would calm him. It always did, the numbers flitting through his mind until a pattern was found. He started in earnest but couldn't concentrate. There was a nagging, like toothache, but what was it? He would read the funeral oratory himself. People knew he and Father Mac had their differences. It was important to show that faith could transcend the merely personal. He looked back at the Bible, opened the pages again. There was something there, something troubling. Dragon, yes, but it wasn't the word. No, the Sudoku. Numbers. But what about them? 6, 5, 13, 11, then encircled 2, 3, 4, and 15. He could see no pattern, no logic. He lay in bed 6 hours later with it still nagging. He was almost asleep as the numbers kept rolling, tombola-like in his mind. He added, multiplied, sought for historical significance, symbolic meaning, but could fathom nothing. Neither could he grasp why he wanted to know. Perhaps because it was something final about Father Mac, the last mystery. His death made it seem important. Just as he was drifting off to sleep at 2 a.m., it came. He sat bolt upright. 11 digits, 6 on one page, 5 on the next. Could it be? A phone number. He switched on the light, excited as a spring lamb. The 5 digits were probably the code, then the 6 the line number. He dialed 23415 651311. Nothing. Dead. He reversed the first code, 15234 651311. His heart missed a beat as he heard a ringing tone. But why? Why was this so... The call was answered. Silence. The Archbishop took a chance. He tried to change his voice. Dragon, he said huskily. Yes, Clegg. Why the hell are you phoning at this time? I'm in bed for Christ's sake. The Archbishop went cold. It was the Prime Minister. Clegg, I know it's you. There was only you and the priest on this number with the code, so what is it? What? The number went dead. The Archbishop sat down heavily. Fuck, he said quietly to no one in particular. Scenarios sped through his mind. He sifted each one, considered it, and either rejected or placed it in some provisional space in his mind. After half an hour, he mentally listed the certainties. Father Mac and the PM were in cahoots over something important. The fact that Father Mac had direct access to the PM on a number used by only one other person confirmed that. Clegg. Who was he? The Archbishop would find out. Father Mac had somehow been deceiving him, as had the PM himself. Father Mac's death suddenly seemed more suspicious. Faith, for all in triumphant hope. His vision crumbled and scattered. Now his life flew apart. All its unguarded spaces revealed, open to the air. He would never be the same now. He knew that. And really, it was a blessing. For what was a vision but a fixed glare on a moving, chaotic canvas? You create a little hopelessly implausible world inside yourself. Then, foolishly, try to impose it on the world. Madness. Worse than madness. Hypocrisy. Yet he felt closer to Father Mac than he ever had in life. They were in it together now, and he would find out the truth. He put his hand on the little Bible and promised the dead man that much. Dragon indeed. He would insist on another full autopsy of Father Mac's body. Perhaps the secrets he so jealously guarded in life he would disclose in death.